So
Yes.
we are going to switch now.
Yes,
We're going to switch now into persuasive writing. All right, so persuasive writing, let's see, it's essentially writing to convince. That's the point of persuasive writing. So when we are finished reading your piece, we should say, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to believe what this is saying here because it makes so much sense. So for persuasive writing, again, read the question carefully, take your pencils and underline certain things from the question, any important things in the question, and pay attention to your vocabulary and content. So for persuasive writing, and this is a format here that we will use, we use IBC. So I is your introduction, B is your body, and C is your conclusion. That's the simplest structure. What we have further to that, and this is something I do with my CX. Oh, by the way, all of these things that we are learning here, I want you to remember you can learn and use these things from now until CXC. These are the strategies I use with my Form 5s to write CXC. So the strategy here is your introduction. You will use DET. DET means the first thing you do, define any concepts from the question itself. The E is to explain in about 2 or 3 sentences what the topic is about. T is for thesis statement. You all came across thesis statement already, yes?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
The thesis is one sentence that tells us what your point is and what your view is, either yes or no, and also the 3 points to be discussed in the essay. When you go on to the body, those 3 paragraphs in the body, you would use TE. So T is for your topic sentence. That is one sentence that will tell you what the paragraph is going to be about. And then you would have E, explain the point in about 2 to 4 sentences. And then E is evidence. This is important. How we give evidence, you have different things that you could use. Facts, percentages, studies done. So for example, you can say in a study done by the Ministry of Health in Dominica, over 50% of students were not able to prepare for their exams because they had vision problems. That is an example. That's a solid example. So you'd have to learn how to make up examples that sound very believable. So you can use percentage, 40%, 50%, 1.2, or 1 in every 3 children. Things like a research done, right? And then the S is to summarize your point. And then you have conclusion, which is just restate your point, and S, final summary of your point of view. So let's look at how this formula works here, right? So we have this essay plan. So what I did, I put the plan, and then I did the entire essay for you, right? So the question was, and Miss would have given me this question, should parents limit the amount of time their children spend on their devices? What do you guys think? Should they? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
No, I know.
Your time to study.
At least for common entrance. At least for common entrance time.
I see. So here's the thing, right? When you're writing, I want you to choose the points that will not your personal opinion here, but the ones that will give you the points to write on. So yes, you as a child would want to say, no, we don't want any mommy and daddy, no, we don't want that. But when you're writing for the exam, you put that aside because you will get more points and better points if you say yes, parents should limit their time. So always remember that your personal view, always weigh the argument and choose the side that you will get more points on, more valid points on. So you will not get it if you are saying, no, parents should just let children do what they want. No, that's not going to give you a lot of points. You don't have a lot of arguments there to stand on. The safer argument is yes, they should control the time spent on devices. So let's look at why. So again, if you see a topic that has to do with should homework be banned, what would you say?
No. Of course.
No.
Oh, well, so just between you and I, you would say, yes, of course it should be banned. But when you're writing for the exam, what would you say?
No.
No.
Very good.
Definitely not. No, of course.
Look at our essay plan here. So the introduction, what we are going to do, remember the formula says you should underline. So should parents limit, right, the time their children spend on devices. So what in this question here we can define, because we have to define. D is for define. What can we define?
Devices.
Right, what devices. So if the question said, should homework be banned? What can we define from that question?
Parents.
No?
Homework.
What is homework? Very good. So any question you have for persuasive writing, look at what in the question you can put a definition for. And you don't need to Google this. This is something that you can come up with on your own. So you define what a device is. What are devices? What do you think devices are?
It's a device is something you use for personal use. The device is something you watch TV.
Very good. So it's a personal electronic.
A device is something you use to get entertainment. Electronics.
A device
What do you use it for?
And a device is an object you use to bring you good, happy, or joy.
Is it only homework?
Entertainment.
research.
It can also use for entertainment.
For entertainment.
Very good. So when we are defining it, we would say devices are electronic items that children often use for entertainment and research, right? So both, we put in both. And then we would say, explain that these devices, children often use it to research homework, or they would use it for entertainment, playing video games, watching TV, their favorite shows. That's the explanation. The thesis now, this is where you come down and you say, however, despite the positives or despite knowing the positives of using devices, parents must control the amount of time because, and you put your 3 reasons. What would be a reason why we should have parents limit? 1.
Because they can damage your eyes.
Damage your eyes.
For you not to become blind.
Also help you remember what you study.
So I heard damage eyes.
The children could get addicted to it.
Very good. So we're going to say that we are going to say that yes, devices are useful to children. However, parents must limit because of addiction, because it can cause damages to their eyes, and also it can cause them to not focus on their schoolwork. So what you have there in that thesis is your point of view that yes, I agree, and you have 3 points that you're going to develop in the body. And how we develop the body, we put the main point. So every single point you have in that thesis, you will put the main point, explain it, evidence, support, and summarize. So let's go on to the actual essay now. All right, so readers, so Giovanni, read the introduction for us. And I want you all to pay attention to the formula. As I said, define anything in that question you can. Devices, what is homework, extracurricular activities, define those things. And then you explain them and then you put your thesis. So Giovanni, go ahead and read the introduction for us.
Okay. Devices in today's world refer to tablets, computers, laptops, phones, and any other electronic item that children use for education and entertainment. These devices are often used for a number of reasons, such as research, to attend to online classes, to look at movies, or to play video games. While these devices are useful, parents need to limit their children's use as overuse can lead to children falling behind in class, children's eyesight being affected, and children not being fit and healthy.
Very good. Now notice that you all came up with the very same points. The only one that I didn't get was the addiction. I really didn't think about that. But you see, you all have the ideas behind it. So once you can point out the addiction and so on, that's a very, very valid point. So let's look at how we develop the first. So again, the 3 paragraphs in that essay now would be 1, children falling behind in classes, 2, their eyesight being affected, and 3, not being able to be fit and healthy. So let's look at how TEF So paragraph 1, the body, the first point. Skylar, read the first one for us.
The overuse of devices can lead to children falling behind in their schoolwork.
Read the entire paragraph. I just put it out with the formula. So continue.
This is so as the time spent on devices is time away from revising schoolwork. While it is understood students can use devices for research, they still need to revise and practice for their revision of topics learned in school. In fact, a survey done by the Ministry of Education in Dominica revealed that in 2023, over 80% of students scored less than 50 in their end-of-term tests, which was due to long-time loss of using devices. This statistic is alarming and says that parents need to limit screen time for an improvement in children's performance.
Okay, very good, children. So when you're looking at the paragraph, the structure is the first point is your topic sentence, which is simply a repeat of your point. The overuse of devices can lead to children falling behind in their schoolwork. Then we explain it. This is so because they spend the time spent away from revision, and then we explain it by saying that yes, we know that the devices can be used for research, but they still need to monitor the use. And we have the example here being, and the evidence that a survey done by the Ministry of Education in Dominica revealed that over 80% of students scored less than 50 in their end of term exam. Then we take the S now and we summarize the entire thing. That this statistic is alarming because it says that parents need to. Your language is important. So you have to say they must, they need, without a doubt. So those are some of the words and phrases you'd want to use in your persuasive writing. So far, so good?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Miss.
Let's look at
Miss.
paragraph 2 is going to look at the eye vision. Right? So, Jadine, read paragraph 2 for us. We'll continue on the other page. So go ahead, Jadine.
Additionally, overuse of devices can lead to a negative impact on children's eye vision. When children spend hours on their device, there is a blue light that affects their vision. Overuse of devices will have children exposed to this light, which will negatively affect their vision. A recent survey done by the eye specialist in Dominica stated that there has been an increase in the need for glasses in young children, that children as young as 2 are now wearing spectacles to help them to see. This is indeed a very alarming situation, and definitely says parents must limit their children's time spent on devices so that children can have healthier vision during their lives.
Very good. So you all are seeing the pattern again. We start off with the same point, eye vision. We explain why, because the children are on the devices for so long. Then we give a statistic that comes from some source. So eye specialist in Dominica. So you can make up things, right? Ministry of Health, Ministry of this, a team from the university. So this would now support what you are saying as evidence. And then the last sentence would be, well, the last part of the paragraph would be, because of these, because of this statistic, because of this study done, it shows without a doubt parents need to limit the screen time because their children will not have healthy vision, or their children will suffer in the long run with poor vision. So that's our summary sentence. So let's look at the pattern again. The last point here. This is healthy. So Adhari, go ahead and read this one.
Furthermore, overuse of devices will lead to children who are unhealthy due to the lack of exercise. Children need exercise to be fit and healthy. They need to be active to burn off calories and keep their bodies in a healthy state. When they are sitting in front of devices, they are not active. This can lead to being overweight, and diseases such as diabetes can affect them at a very early age. According to the medical journal, a study was conducted where there was a 70% increase of diabetic children in 2023. This is very worrying, as diabetes is a lifestyle disease and it also will complicate the quality of life for these children. Without a doubt, parents need to limit their children's time spent on devices so they can lead healthy lives.
Very good. So again, we're seeing the pattern. You put back the point, which you would have put in your introduction in the thesis statement. You explain the point, you put a statistic, you put some kind of study, some kind of evidence, and then you summarize and you say, this is why we need to limit the devices. And now we have the conclusion. So that's restating the point and then putting an overall summary on it. So Noreen, can you read the conclusion for us?
In the final analysis, there is a need for parents to limit screen time for their children, as this can lead to low grades, poor vision, and lifestyle diseases such as diabetes. There is no way that parents can think not controlling screen time is not important. This control is a must if they want their children to be successful and healthy.
Was that very simple?
Yes,
Miss.
Yes,
So who is going
Yes, Miss.
So we have some questions here. So who is going to use the formula? What's the formula for writing the persuasive essay? The introduction, the formula is?
IBC.
DET.
Very good. IBC is the overall formula. The formula for the I, the introduction alone, is DET. D is to define anything in the essay, any question. E is to explain that, and T is for your thesis. What is the formula for the body for every paragraph after that would be?
DDES.
T, right? So the first formula would be, introduction would be DET, D-E-T. The second formula would be T's, like a t-shirt, T's, T-E-E-S. So T is for topic sentence, E is for explain, E is for evidence, and S is to summarize. So let's look at this question too. Should local Dominican history be included as a subject in school? What are we going to define in that question?
local Dominican history.
Very good. What is local Dominican history? Local Dominican history is history based on
Dominican.
and very good. And let's explain that a little bit. So it is important that children learn about the history of Dominica because why is it important to learn history?
So we can keep the
So
history
that they
and
will know about
preserve
their
it for
culture.
later generation.
They can teach
Very
it on
Very good. So that they would learn about their heritage, culture, full stop. And the thesis statement would be, without a doubt, Dominican history should be included as a subject in schools because one was 3 points. One,
To preserve it for future generations.
very good, to preserve the history for future generations. Two,
To preserve its
to preserve a sense of pride.
To make nobody forget about it.
Well, I think that was the first point. To preserve the history for future generations. Two, to increase a sense of pride.
the tourist.
Did I get the people to know more about the island?
Okay, so the 3 solid points would be: one, to preserve the history for future generations. That's one. Two, for children, students to have a sense of pride in their country and their number 3, for students to have a sense of pride in their culture, because history also has to do with culture. So we could say culture, or we could put a totally different point. Somebody was saying so that children will be able to showcase the history of Dominica to others. So that could be the third point, that children will be knowledgeable about their own history so that they can share with others, right? So we have 3 solid points as to why it should be part of the subject or the curriculum in schools. Good? And that's right there is your introduction. And then all you do now is use T's, remember the T-shirts, use the T's to help develop each point in that question. Simple?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, miss.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
homework. Notice we have homework. We have the screen time. We have history. We have devices and AI. Those are seemingly new, interesting topics that may be something that would be tested. So these are things that you can look at closely as well and practice your writing using the formula. Any questions before we move on?
no, miss.
Miss.
No, miss.
So